Hello there. Oh boy, this week's Thursdoid should have you absolutely drooling for Build 42. It's Zombie Thursday indeed. Speaking of, there has been confirmation from the dev team that Build 42 will be out this year, so strap in survivors, we are almost there. Before we dive in, don't forget to join the Discord community if you haven't already. And as always, I will leave a link to the dev blog in the description if you want to read the post in further detail. So without further ado, let's jump headfirst into this edition of the Thursdoid Dev blog. The team starts this one off by diving into the new readable material that they are planning to implement in Build 42. We get a first-hand sneak peek at a new secondary UI system which will allow the team and community modders to produce readable text UIs with greater flexibility. The best part is that they can reuse templates for them as well. The dev blog features a more technical, in-depth bit on this if you want to dive a little deeper on how it can impact you as a modder, or if you're just a little curious on how it works on a tech level. So why show this? Well, the team is using this new UI to create new types of readable material, more specifically, 2 types, for us to enjoy during our playthroughs. A little heads up though, they have stated that not all of them will be immediately available once Build 42 hits unstable beta, but should be added in time. The first kind are newspapers and community pamphlets. These should help with world building and further expand on the lore and the timeline of the Nox event. Personally, I'm quite the sucker for good lore, and while there is a bunch of it floating out there in the form of radio and news broadcasts, etc., this edition is fantastic for further immersion, and I'm really happy the team is doing this. As much as gameplay matters, lore matters too. The second kind are local business flyers, house listings, and more. Now, these are really exciting as they will actually be useful to you in your playthroughs. Reading flyers will automatically show you the relevant location on your map. By adding these in, the team can help direct players to worthwhile areas to loot, as well as some really good safe house locations. In conjunction with the readable material, the team enlisted the help of fellow creators Unconid and Werlias to help turn the isometric screenshots that they were using in said readable media into 3D images for a more lifelike representation. I'll attach links to their channels in the description, so be sure to check them out if you haven't already done so. Big ups to these two, and I'm sure that their collaboration with the team over at Indie Stone will be a fruitful one. Finally, we get some word on something that indeed has needed some love for a very long time, and that is the grass that spans the general landscape in PZ. Now, the team has stated that Build 42 is blessed with a depth buffer. This means that they can reduce the player's clipping with general scenery, show doors swinging open or closed, and more. The best part of this, at least in my opinion, is that their unstable beta will be able to show seated characters on furniture in all 4 directions. With all of that, the depth buffer will also be used for grass and undergrowth by adding depth maps to them, meaning your character will intersect with them as you move through them, as if they were 3D geometry. The idea behind this is that with the grass becoming more realistic, objects and zombies will be better hidden in the grass and more. They released a video showing this, and I think it speaks for itself. They are doing an amazing job with it, and with the upcoming updates to the procedurally generated landscape, means wilderness style gameplay is about to get a whole lot juicier. Speaking of wilderness, did you see the deer in the video? To add to this, at least in the world beyond Build 42, they will be tying in the grass and shrubland with the seasonal and erosion systems, which will help us as players get a better idea of the months as they pass. Here's a little before and after comparison so you can get an idea of what's coming. As above, so below. With the upcoming basements being added to Build 42 comes massively improved soundscapes with it. The team over at Formosa have been hard at work on developing these new soundscapes for when we dive underground. Ground floor level sounds and activity will begin to fade away as you descend lower into the underground. Once there, you will be greeted by sounds like mice in the distance, cans rolling around in the dark, water dripping, and more. Gunshots would also be amplified as they would be in an enclosed underground space. I will put up a video now showcasing this. Let me shut up for a second and let you enjoy these new snazzy sounds. Are you excited? Because yeah, I sure am. Survivors, I have some grave news for you. Remember those nice, safe, high metal fences that we've all come to love so much? The ones which are indestructible? Yeah, those are now going, so nowhere is safe. Just like the prison in The Walking Dead, your walls will eventually come down. But don't fret, this change does come with a few caveats. This new feature of destructible high metal fences will be considered a sandbox option that can be toggled and will come into play with large hordes over a very long period of time. How long? We don't know. Just that it will be a while before the fences do indeed break down. They released a work in progress video that showcases what this would look like. Bear in mind that this is sped up and they will work on the crowding / banging visuals a bit to make it more realistic. The whole reason for this change is to give a bit of spice for the late game, at least in my opinion. We all know that there comes a point where once we've built up our defenses and get cozy, we tend to get bored because we are essentially invincible, only dying to our own stupidity. They want to give us as the players a sense that we are safe for now, but as that horde builds up, we won't be for very long. Alrighty, on to the notes on the upcoming gun changes. Fenris has had their nose buried deep in upgrading firearms, and I must say things are about to get interesting. Among some of the planned updates to firearms are things like weather conditions like rain and fog, as well as lighting conditions, will have an effect on hit and critical chances. This can be offset by traits. Range shots at targets hidden by darkness will be challenging or just completely impossible. Maximum firing range has now been increased and is no longer affected by skill level, although the chances of hitting your target at high ranges is still affected. The distance to your target now has a greater impact on penalties caused by debilitating conditions, like panic, drunkenness, movement, weather, and more. Most penalties are greatly reduced at close ranges. As if guns couldn't get any louder, the sound radius is now increased, which is modifiable in the sandbox options, and sound range has been reduced when firing indoors. Sighting systems for firearms now have an ideal range that they are designed for. Panic now affects hit chances. Previously, it only affected critical chances and crit damage, but now that's all changed. Following on from that, hit chances and critical chances are now calculated in the same way. If something impacts hit chances, like panic for example, then critical chances will also be affected and vice versa. There are a few exceptions to this, but they didn't cover those in the post. That said though, hit chances have now been generally increased across the board, allowing those of us with lower skill levels to actually make a successful shot while avoiding negative conditions like panic, of course. And finally, ammo weights have now been corrected and rebalanced, as well as mounted flashlights are functional and may actually become a necessity for shooting in low light conditions. With guns out the way, let's dive into the notes on the upcoming armor systems. This month, the team has been putting some focus into improving their late game armor system. In previous dev posts, they stated that they were trying not to take direct inspiration from zombie games and media, rather choosing to focus on something that was more natural and more fitting for the time and circumstance. In essence, even though there are quite a few ideas for very fun pieces of armor out there, they don't want anything that doesn't seem like it belongs in the Project Zomboid setting. The armor that they create should look like actual armor and operate within the logic of PZ. And so there are a few categories of armor that they are looking to introduce into Build 42. Starting off with metal. With the upcoming crafting and blacksmithing update, naturally it will feature some form of metal armor, without looking like a medieval knight. Now, even though they were not specifically looking for inspiration from other games, they couldn't help but draw some inspiration from Rust, in the way that Rust's metal armors are implemented, and with good reason. Rust's armor fits well with the Project Zomboid setting, but that inspiration will naturally be adapted to suit the team's needs. Sadly though, there will be no historical museums featuring historical weapons and armor in Build 42, or even suits of armor on display in mansions. With all the changes to the crafting system and the high-end gear that can ultimately be crafted, this decision was made to encourage players to get out into the world and engage with the new system that they have created, rather than missions straight to one spot on the map to grab said high-end gear and enjoy it. The team has tried to ensure that the armor is believable and actually feasible to be created, while keeping to the procedural approach, much like the new weapon systems, which can be adapted to suit your needs. With certain apocalyptic media such as Escape from New York serving as a tinge of inspiration, the team has erred more towards a punkish sort of look, which actually looks rather cool, I'd say. Alongside this, it looks like we will be able to craft armor out of quite the selection of materials. The next is sports gear. Seeing as Project Zomboid is set in 1993, there is a whole host of lootable sports gear around the map. Armor pieces like guards, pads and paddings, etc., some of which can even be modified to make downright badass post-apocalyptic armor. And this brings us on to the final category mentioned in the armor section, and that is spikes. Yes, you heard correctly. However, now both you and the zombies can be spiky, which can cause some harm to both you and the zombie, so tread carefully. They released a video showing the damage that can occur if you attack a zombie while not being properly protected. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to another thing that I am sure you are all salivating for, and that is a small update on the upcoming skyscraper system that will be released alongside the basements. As it turns out, 32 floors of zombies that all spawn at the same rate creates a metric ton of zombies. Obviously, this will create a performance issue, which the team is now in the process of rebalancing and touching up the system to ensure consistent performance. And that's it for the Thursdoid. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to take a look at the dev blog in more detail, I will leave a link in the description for you. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Good luck out there, Survivor, and I will see you in the next one.